A full pardon, and I'm going to sign it right now, and we're very proud of Alice and the job you've done and what you represent. Okay, thank you.
Top story, Alice Johnson, a free woman tonight after a grant of clemency from President Trump after 22 years that she spent in a federal prison for charges related to drug possession and money laundering. Alice Johnson and her attorney, Michael Scholl, are here. So, Alice, how's it feeling 24 hours in? How did you feel when you woke up in your house this morning?
I felt wonderful. No more bunk beds over my head.
I mean, it was a remarkable story. I mean, you know, is it all sinking in for you? Because it really happened very fast, Alice.
It happened so fast that it's really now just starting to sink in that I'm truly free. The only way that I was able to make it through that time, and this is the truth, was my faith in God.
To begin with the president's latest use of his clemency powers. The Constitution gives him that right to pardon or commute. Today, he commuted the life sentence of a drug convict. That means she'll be released from federal prison, though her conviction will stand. She had a high-profile advocate, reality TV star Kim Kardashian, who made her case directly to the president at the White House.
On the presidential pardons, President Trump also commuting the sentence of a South Florida woman who was serving time for her role in a Medicare fraud scheme. She is now back home, and Local 10 News reporter Glenna Milberg is joining us live with reaction from her. Glenna.
Christy, Judith Negron has been home about 7 hours now after 9 years in a federal prison. A lot changes in the better part of a decade.
I am so thankful, so blessed.
Good evening. I'm Alice Marie Johnson. I was once told that the only way I would ever be reunited with my family would be as a corpse. But by the grace of God and the compassion of President Donald John Trump, I stand before you tonight, and I assure you, I'm not a ghost. I am alive, I am well, and most importantly, I am free.
President Trump granted a rare posthumous pardon to Jack Johnson, who in the early 1900s became boxing's first African-American heavyweight champion. John Yang has more.
Judy, in 1913, an all-white jury convicted Johnson of violating the Federal Mann Act, which made it illegal to transport women across state lines for immoral purposes. The woman in question was Johnson's girlfriend, who was white. Johnson was heavyweight champ from 1908 to 1915. Outside the ring, he defied conventions by showing off his wealth, mocking white opponents, and perhaps most shocking for the times, dating and marrying white women. In the Oval Office.
I am taking this very righteous step, I believe, to correct a wrong that occurred in our history and to honor a truly legendary boxing champion, legendary athlete, and a person that when people got to know him, they really liked him, and they really thought he was treated unfairly.
An ex-boxer from Gary, Indiana, serving life in prison is now instead a free man.
The president granted him clemency. WGN's Marcella Raymond is live with that story. Marcella.
First, a double life sentence, then reduced to life. But Duke Tanner says, you know what, I have a second chance now, and I'm not going to blow it.
This moment was 16 years in the making. Charles Duke Tanner embracing his 18-year-old son.
Boy, man. You know, they got so many rules, so your family sit across from you, and or they can't touch you and certain things like that. So for us to ride back, you know, to drive home, and he was able to lay on me, even though he's 18 years old now. That moment right there felt so good to me. I'm still living off of it right now. I haven't been asleep in 2 days.
Duke Tanner spent 16 years of a double life sentence in a federal prison before President Trump granted him clemency 2 days ago.
They said, the president signed off on your clemency today. So I just started sweating and praying all at the same time.
Tanner, who is 38, grew up in Gary, Indiana. He was an undefeated light heavyweight boxer and hoped to go pro. He had never been arrested until he was accused of leading a local gang that sold drugs. He was convicted in 2006 of conspiracy to distribute. Tanner received 2 life sentences that was eventually reduced to 1.
A Lubbock woman is out of prison 5 years early after President Trump granted her clemency. Tyneese Hall was released on Tuesday, and KLBK's Alyssa Tellez met with Hall today and joins us now in the studio. Alyssa, how is she doing with this?
Terry, Miss Hall says she is glad to be out of prison, but it will take some time for her to get adjusted. Hall was convicted of allowing her apartment to be used to distribute drugs back in 2006.
It was a regular day for Tyneese Hall. Serving her 20-year sentence in federal prison, she was at work when she received a call.
And then she finally told me that it was the best day of my life and that I had to be off the compound by 4. So it was almost 3 o'clock.
Overcome with emotion, she says her mind was racing.
Who's going to come get me? Where am I going to go? I ain't got no clothes. What am I going to do?
Hall granted clemency from President Trump and was released from federal prison on Tuesday.
I appreciate him. I'm thankful.
Trump freed her because of her dedication to bettering herself and others.
I had always had this unshakable sense that I know that life has to be more than what it was I've been living. I caught my very first felony conviction at 16 years old, and that type of behavior had led me into more and more arrests, getting in trouble until the age of 37 years old. I was arrested for a string of bank robberies. And based off of my criminal history, there is a potential that a federal judge can sentence me up to 23 years in a maximum security United States federal penitentiary. And in that moment, I played a let's make a deal with God. And I asked God to climb into the robe of that judge. Whether it's 10 years or 50 years, I'm going to invest the rest of my life serving you. And I stood before that federal judge. Judge Mahan took his glasses off, leaned back and said, I don't know why I'm going to do this. But he said, I'm not going to give you what you deserve. Then he gave me a lesser sentence. And as I laid on that stainless steel cell, shackled by my hands and my feet, I heard God utter into my spirit, my son, I honored what you asked me to do. He said, never forget the promise that you made to me. And ever since that day, I got up off that floor and my life went in a 180-degree turn in the other direction.
When John got that sentence, I just shook my head. I said, wow, John, you are destined for bigger things than prison. My name is Richard Beasley. I was an FBI special agent for about 25 and a half years.
It was something about his demeanor when he walked into that room. I had this feeling like everything's gonna be okay.
Then when he got out, he gave me a call and says, hey, Rich, let's have lunch. So I met him at the McDonald's, and he's got a Bible with him. I've seen that before where guys have used a Bible as a prop. It took me about 30 seconds to understand that this was not a prop with John. He was a changed guy from the man that I arrested, several years before.
When I saw the way that he treated me fairly, I saw the man behind the suit. I started thinking, man, if that worked for me with this law enforcement officer, how can I multiply that and get more law enforcement officers involved so that we can impact this on a larger scale? President Trump, he had made a bunch of promises. Let me just be transparent. When he first started talking about the things he was going to do, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute here. I mean, is he serious? Because everything that he was saying that he wanted to do was the stuff that needs to be done. And before he walked out that meeting that day, I promised I'll make it out there to, come speak at one of your graduations. I heard that they were phenomenal. When he stood there in that graduation and he went out of his way to shake the hand of every one of those 29 graduates, set them on a whole nother vista of life because they had the office of the President of the United States. The promises that he made was promises that he kept.
2 years ago, I was honored to tell John Ponder's story of transformation in the Rose Garden on the National Day of Prayer. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome him back to the White House. John's life is a beautiful testament to the power of redemption.